Sponsorship for Frontiers with Rhonda McBride is provided by Kupik Corporation and Spenard Builders Supply. Alaska, where there are old triumphs, but also new frontiers, with challenges as great as the state itself, but a belief the best is yet to come. Bringing you the faces, the places, and the spirit of the last frontier. This is Frontiers with Rhonda McBride.
Welcome to Frontiers. Now, you may have heard that saying that making laws is a lot like making sausage. Not pretty. But efforts to get the Alaska Safe Children's Act passed has turned downright ugly. But the bill, also known as Erin's Law, would require schools to teach students about sexual assault. A look at why it has faced so many hurdles. And later in our program, we'll go to Juneau to talk with Alaska's First Lady about why she supports legislation to help raise children's awareness about sexual assault. And we'll hear from two parents who want older students to learn about teen dating violence. They know firsthand about its tragic consequences. Cindy and Butch Moore lost their daughter Bree and want a provision included in the Alaska Safe Children's Act known as Bree's Law. Well, the Children's Act is modeled after Erin's Law, named after Erin, a survivor of child sexual abuse, on a national campaign to make sure that every state has a law requiring schools to teach children about how to protect themselves from predators. Now, this isn't the first attempt in Alaska to pass such a law. A bill introduced last session cleared the Senate, but then died in the House. This session, 4 similar bills were introduced. Yes, 4. Sounds like pretty good odds that one of them would pass, but not yet. While this protest focused mostly on education cuts, the main message: stop fiddling around with bills that affect Alaska's children.
And as you can see, he has earbuds in and he's holding on an iPod, and he can't hear the people who are screaming, fund education, expand Medicaid, and pass Erin's Law.
But Erin's Law has struggled to gain traction, despite bipartisan and popular support.
I don't understand that at all. I don't understand why that would not be done in the first week of session. It's a simple, preventative thing for a state that has some of the highest sexual abuse rates in the country.
We are here and watching you. We're smart, got heart.
And those who have watched the twists and turns of the bill, now rebranded as the Alaska Safe Children's Act, say it's enough to get whiplash.
It's been dozens of letters, dozens of phone calls.
Representative Guarantar introduced the first bill modeled on Erin's Law.
Here's one. When I was 12 years old, I was molested by my best friend's father.
Tar is a Democrat.
There's still time to save Erin's Law.
As is Senator Berta Gardner, who also championed another sexual assault prevention bill, which never made it out of the Senate Education Committee.
This is my body, and it belongs just to me.
Senator Liesl McGuire also introduced a version of Erin's Law. She says while she has taught her son about sexual predators, she worries about other parents.
This is my body. Why did he do that?
McGuire's bill added a new component, one that requires schools to teach older students about dating violence. It's known as Bree's Law, named after a young Anchorage woman police say was murdered by her boyfriend.
Sometimes it's your own family member, sometimes it's your next door neighbor.
In the end, it was Representative Sharice Millett's measure, House Bill 44, that is closest to the finish line. Her version also includes Bree's Law.
This bill is going to impose a tremendous financial burden on our schools.
What if the community says, this is something we want to handle in our homes as parents?
Despite objections, the bill cleared the House by a wide margin.
34 yeas, 6 nays.
I think I was overwhelmed with emotion thinking of those children.
Elation over the bill's passage in the House turned to bitter disappointment.
The problem is you're killing the entire intent of the bill.
When the bill was sent to the Senate Education Committee, and its chairman, Mike Dunleavy, made changes through a committee substitute, or CS.
The CS version that was brought forward yesterday is a real slap in the face to a mother of a daughter who has been killed as a result of dating violence.
This train is moving. And what you have done, Senator Dunleavy, is you have added a bunch of junk on this train that has nothing to do with this bill, that potentially will kill it.
The biggest objection, Dunleavy's version allows schools and parents to opt out. Those who don't want the changes say the new version may not protect a child being molested by a family member. But Dunleavy says his version protects parental rights.
To label parents as potential perpetrators, and we must compel them, the state must compel them to have training for their kids, I think you've crossed the line and you're in a police state.
But what about the child's rights?
You don't help the child by taking away the rights of other Alaskans, other people, especially their parents.
This time it was just not the right piece of legislation to mess with. It wasn't, nobody liked it.
Millette believes HB 44 will soon be restored closer to its original form.
It's heartbreaking. I can't even put into words when a child is abused and I've met them and see their mannerisms and see the emptiness and the hollowness in their eyes. It breaks my heart. It should break every Alaskan's heart that that's happening on a daily basis. So we have to fix it. We have to do better.
Enough is enough.
HB 44 supporters say a bill alone can't fix the problem,
Enough is enough.
but at least it's a start. Senator Dunleavy says, contrary to what people may think, he supports Erin's law. Some have accused him, though, of changing the bill for political gain because he may challenge Senator Lisa Murkowski in the next Republican primary. But Dunleavy says that he won't make his decision until after special session. So the next stop for Erin's law, the Senate Finance Committee. Hearings will likely be scheduled next week, and some of what Dunleavy added could be taken out. We have an extended interview with Senator Dunleavy on the Frontiers portion of KTVA.com. Well, up next, we talk with First Lady Donna Walker about why she supports Erin's law and remembering Bree, a young woman who was in a violent relationship that she kept hidden from her family. Her parents believe education about dating violence might have saved her life.
The Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium provides comprehensive health services for Alaska Native and American Indian people across our state. In addition to world-class care at the Alaska Native Medical Center, our work delivers health services for rural Alaska. From cutting-edge technology for the best care possible, to modern construction of clean water systems and health clinics, to health training and outreach that honors our culture, our vision is that Alaska Native people are the healthiest people in the world.
For more than 60 years, Spenard Builder Supply has helped Alaskans build their backyard barbecues, their curb appeal, their arsenal, and their hideaways. From helping you pick the perfect decking, to mixing paint that's just the right shade, to finding the power tool that pulls it all together, SBS is here to build with you. From ground to roof to everything in between.
Now offering financing with no payments or interest for 12 months. Visit us today at your local Spenard Builder Supply.
Sometimes it's the smallest things that make the biggest difference. Jason Dolph, second-generation firefighter, knew what he wanted to do since he was 3. Inspired by his dad, who always came home knowing he had helped people. We can all work together to make sure the littlest Alaskans grow up to achieve their biggest dreams. For small steps you can take to make a big difference, visit alaskachildrenstrust.org.
Start small, dream big. Alaska Children's Trust.
I've lived in Alaska since I was 9. I've spent 2/3 of my life in Alaska, and I want to spend the rest of my life in Alaska. There's so much going on in Anchorage, there's so much going on in Alaska, that you want to make sure that the news that you're watching is giving you the most accurate picture of what's happening in your community. What's important to KTVA is what's important to Alaska. I really appreciate that when something is going on in the community, KTVA is always there.
You know, in the article that you wrote for Alaska Dispatch, the opinion piece, you got very specific in talking about this issue. You know, you mentioned some of the experiences that you and your sister had in dealing with people that could potentially be perpetrators.
Yes.
Do you want me to discuss those?
Well, yeah, I was just going to ask you to maybe talk about, maybe one of the examples I remember you talking about was that there was a man that would try to give you and your sister candy.
Right. Well, at our bus stop, when we were, you know, very young, elementary school age, a car would come by our bus stop, slow down, and the man would stop and chat with us and give us all candy. And it happened several times. Of course, we always looked forward to him coming because all we understood was there was a nice man and he was giving us candy. And we just happened to mention it to our parents, and, you know, without specifically telling you, because I don't think kids, we certainly didn't. We have had no idea that anybody would be interested in us for any other purposes. But our parents just saying, you know, that's wrong, he could hurt you. Next time it happens, run to the house.
Well, what about the other incident you described in the opinion piece about your Uncle Ron? You got pretty specific there.
Well, that, and of course, all names have been changed to protect the guilty there, but that was a great uncle who lived not nearby. We probably only met him 2 or 3 times. So, yes, my sister and I were probably about the same age, just young. We were a year apart, so I think we were probably 5 to 6 or so. And he just was extremely friendly, just, you know, for someone that you don't know, and we were actually kind of shy. Extremely friendly, but he was just, you know, talking on our level, and, you know, big hugs. And I remember we were in the living room, and my mom walked in, and he had both my sister and me, you know, on his lap, just, you know, hugging us tight and being very friendly. And she, you know, knew that there was some family history there, and at the time, you know, just told us, don't let Uncle Ron touch you. Don't sit on his lap.
Well, what I really liked about that column was that I'm sure you expressed experiences that many of us have had that are questionable, borderline experiences. Why is it that you think that we have just historically found it hard to talk about with our children in particular? Be more direct.
Well, I do think that most parents talk to their children about stranger danger in some form or another, but I do think that we are neglectful in talking to them about when it's a closer relationship, a teacher, a family member, you know, an uncle, the neighbor next door. Those are, you know, you don't want to instill fear in your children, but you definitely want them to realize what is appropriate and inappropriate conduct. So I think it is hard. It would be because, you know, now we know that 90% of the sex abuse cases happen by someone that's not the stranger, that is familiar. Someone familiar.
Well, we want to thank you very much, First Lady Donna Walker, from joining us from Juneau. And if you'd like to hear more about what she has to say on this subject, we will continue our conversation on the Frontier section of KTVA.com. Well, up next, it's a different world today for our children, with Alaska's high rates of domestic violence and sexual assault, a push to make sure students hear about dating violence.
We have a story of 27 families that put 18 months of their lives into building a village, a home for themselves and their future. Our Inupiat culture goes back thousands of years, carried by a strong sense of community. Our relationship with our natural surroundings is at the heart of our culture. By investing in future generations through development that is balanced with the love of our land, the Gupi Corporation brings together traditions of the past with visions of the future.
Let's never forget the cost of freedom or take it for granted. As a veteran, you are entitled to certain benefits when you pass. To learn what benefits are included, ask for our free Veterans Information Kit and learn how a smart plan can provide all of the things that are not covered. We all enjoy the freedom you provide for us, and we thank you for your service. This is Dominic Hassar, owner and operator of the Cremation Society of Alaska. Call us at 277-2777 or visit our website.
The freedoms we enjoy aren't free.
Military families shouldn't have to bear the cost of freedom alone. Operation Homefront works tirelessly to sustain and transform lives impacted through military service. More than 90 cents of every dollar you donate directly benefits those who need your help the most. Join us in honoring their sacrifices by donating today. Visit OperationHomefront.net.
With the new KTVA 11 News live stream, you can stay up to date on Alaska news, sports, and weather every day from anywhere.
In Homer.
In Tanana.
From the capital.
At Denali Base Camp.
From McGrath.
Here at the Port of Anchorage. In Kodiak. Here on Prince of Wales Island. From Barrow. In North Pole.
And we mean anywhere.
In Portland.
From Boise.
From Denver. In Washington, D.C.
From Reykjavik, Iceland.
From Afghanistan.
At 35,000 feet above South Dakota.
Try it today at ktva.com/stream.
There's Erin's Law, and now there's Bree's Law, and they've been rolled into one. House Bill 44, dubbed the Alaska Safe Children's Act, this session. Now, one of the things is that this is part of a bill named for Brianna Moore, who police say was killed by her boyfriend, Joshua Almeida. After her death, her parents say that they heard from friends that their daughter hid a physically abusive relationship with Almeida. They believe education about teen dating violence might have saved their daughter's life, so they want to give other teens a chance to learn about healthy relationships. And joining us now to talk about Bree's Law, Butch and Cindy Moore. You know, I know it's hard to be here to talk about this because your daughter's death is not even a year old. You're coming up on the anniversary. So thanks for being willing to tell us about that. And maybe we should sort of find out about Bree, learn who she was, what she was like growing up.
Oh, Bree was an amazing daughter.
She was just 20 when she was killed.
She had just turned 20 when she was killed. She was one of the happiest people I've ever known from the time she was little. She was always happy. She was always smiling. She was extremely energetic. She had tons of friends. She loved animals. She just had the biggest heart. She was a great person.
Well, it's kind of hard to imagine, you know, someone like her being a victim of that kind of violence. And, you know, that must have been a total shock to the two of you to hear that from her friends that there had apparently been some instances of dating violence they were aware of.
It was extremely shocking because Brianna, you know, as she got older, she was so strong. She was a very strong person and so independent. So when this happened to her, we were in complete shock that something like this could happen to someone like Brianna.
Well, obviously it's had a huge impact on your family, but what about people around Brianna, her friends?
Oh, it's had a devastating impact, you know, on her friends and her coworkers. Everyone loved her. Everyone she worked with loved her. She was liked by all. I don't know if I've ever met one of her friends or one person ever that did not just absolutely love Brianna.
So let's talk a little bit about Erin's Law, or the Safe Children's Act. I mean, you know, many people that support it really like the fact that Bree's Law has been incorporated. So why do you think that this law has had so much trouble getting passed?
Well, it really hasn't had a lot of trouble. We've had help from Mark Newman and Lisa McGuire and Sharif Millet and
I mean, there are a lot of people on board, but it just doesn't seem to get to the finish line.
Well, this is the interesting part, is that it passed the House Education, Finance, and Floor in one day. There were only 6 people that voted against it. Keller, Hawker, Sadler, Wilson, Johnson, and Pruitt. Gary Stevens, senator on the Senate Education Board, said, what parent would not want their child to have this education unless their parent was the one abusing the child? So from there it moved to the Senate Education Committee, where it was tabled by Senator Mike Dunleavy. Cindy and I contacted Senator Kevin Meyer, asked him to break it loose, which he did.
And then all of a sudden it wound up with a bunch of stuff in it.
Well, and I found a definition online that has, it's in a column called What I Know by Steve, and it says to Dunleavy, and it gives a definition what to Dunleavy would be. It says, when a situation is unexpectedly comes along, giving you the power to help another in need, you instead try and extract some gain for yourself while harming the other. Which is basically what's happened with this bill, is that all of the power of the bill has been stripped out by making it not mandatory but optional, so it would not be a law, and then adding on other items such as rules for training employees, physical exams.
Now, some of those things were requested by Berta Gardner. She was trying to take the load off of school districts, the cost, so that if they picked up child sexual abuse prevention, that would help. But one of the things before we run out of time here is I know that you put together, Cindy, a lot of information to give legislators, and there are some national statistics about how frequent this is within a certain age group. Can you talk about what you learned?
Yeah, basically 1 in 3 adolescents by the time they reach age 18 will have been physically or sexually abused in a dating relationship. Only 5% of teens that have been abused in a dating relationship will tell their parents, and 81% of parents don't even realize that teen dating violence is an issue.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the national rate for how frequent it is for kids within a certain age group, you know, 16 and above, that little window.
Oh, right. It's the most common in, I think it's 4 times more prevalent in kids that are 16 to 24 years old.
Now, one of the things, too, with junior high kids, I was surprised that in one study that they view possessiveness and jealousy as true love.
Right.
We lead the nation. Alaska is #1 in men killing women. The year my daughter was killed, 2014, we beat out South Carolina. We're the #1 state in the nation for men killing women. We're the #1 state in the nation for men raping women. We're the #1 state in the nation for sexual assault on women, and we are 6 times the national average of sexual molestation of children. 6 times. We win in every category.
So we're just about out of time here, but maybe could you tell us that if a program similar to Erin's Law and adding Bree's Law in the mix, do you think that it could have made a difference in your daughter's case?
Definitely. You know, knowledge is power. And, you know, we have things like stop, drop, and roll in school, fire safety. We teach our kids how to be safe, how to wear seatbelts. So, you know, that starts young and is taught every year. And it's just something that's automatic. So I think that if this education is taught to our children, you know, every year in school, that will also become automatic as they get older. And when they're in these dating relationships, they're going to be able to immediately see the signs of an abusive relationship. They're going to know where to go, who to talk to. Yes, it's going to empower our children.
If not helping your daughter, then helping others. Well, I want to thank both of you for taking the time to talk with us about this issue. I know it wasn't easy, but we are going to talk more on our website. So if you want to learn more about this issue, and maybe we can find out more about the story of exactly what happened to Bree in our web extra on KTVA.com. Next week on Frontiers, we'll introduce you to Ms. Fish, a name that she's earned.
Hey, Tuck. Lainey Welch here. Can you give me any updates on halibut prices?
Whether it's fish prices or fish research or fish politics, one thing you can say about Lainey Welch, she's passionate about it all. Her show, Alaska Fish Radio, is heard on 30 different radio stations. Her column carried in 20 newspapers.
Well,
she works out of her home in Kodiak, often, yes, in her pajamas. And one of the first orders of business in the morning, checking up on market trends.
Work hard. But it helps them plan, the people who are making their lives, supporting their families in this business, if they know that information. This is one of the few businesses in the world that many times the fishermen go out and they don't know how much they're going to get.
Next week on Frontiers, we take you to Kodiak to meet the woman behind that voice on the radio, that story in the newspaper. Frontiers is a new show that we're establishing some new traditions, and one of those is to showcase Alaskan artists. So we want you to take a look at this mask by Drew Michael. It's called Bird Song, and the mask tells a story about a bird that connects with a human, and both see through each other's eyes. Well, beyond this program, we have web extras, photo galleries, and I also blog about each week's show where I share some behind-the-scenes information. So if you want to keep up with me, follow me on Twitter, and also it's the Faces and Places of Alaska in 140 characters. Well, for now, we have come to the end of our conversation this week, and from all of us at KTVA, may you find your own frontier.